Oh, Lord, it's good to be here with you. Imagine this. You're talking to someone you care about, maybe a friend, maybe someone you're trying to build a connection with, and you notice something shift. Their eyes are on you, sure, but something feels off. They're nodding at all the right moments, they're making the appropriate sounds, but you can feel it in your gut. They're not actually there. And here's the kicker. Have you ever been on the other side of that? Have you ever been the person doing the fake listening and then wondering why people seem to drift away from you, like you've got some kind of invisible force field around you? Yeah, me too. Let me tell you, I used to be absolutely terrible at this. Before we dive deeper into this mess, if you're someone who actually wants to build real connections and stop accidentally pushing people away, hit that subscribe button for Confident Connection Lab. We're all figuring this out together, and trust me, you're gonna want to stick around for what's coming. Now, real quick, before I tell you about my most embarrassing fake listening disaster, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching this from. Seriously, I wanna know if you're watching this at 3 in the morning, feeling anxious about your relationships, or if you're on your lunch break trying to figure out why your coworker avoids you. Drop your location, or just tell me what brought you here. I actually read these comments. So here's my story, and I swear this happened exactly as I'm about to tell you. I was hanging out with a close friend, let's call him Marcus, and Marcus was going through some real stuff. His relationship was falling apart, he was stressed about work, and he needed someone to just listen. And there I was, physically present, nodding like one of those bobblehead dolls you see in car windows, making all the right listening noises. But here's what was actually happening in my brain. While Marcus was pouring his heart out about feeling disconnected from his partner, I was mentally rehearsing this brilliant story I wanted to tell him about my own relationship drama. I was literally writing my response in my head, waiting for him to take a breath so I could jump in with my obviously more interesting experience. I wasn't listening to Marcus, I was listening to myself, just waiting for my turn to perform my monologue. And you know what happened? Marcus stopped mid-sentence, looked at me with this expression I'll never forget, and said, "Dude, you're not even listening to me, are you?" That moment, that exact moment, I realized I had murdered our conversation in cold blood. The thing I learned after that brutal wake-up call, after I spent way too much time researching why I sucked at conversations, is that fake listening isn't just about not paying attention. It's about intent. See, most of us think we're listening because we're quiet while the other person talks. But real listening, the kind that actually builds connections, isn't about waiting for your turn. It's about genuinely trying to understand what the other person is experiencing. I dove deep into this stuff, read about Carl Rogers and his work on active listening, and holy crap, it changed everything for me. Rogers talked about this concept of being fully present with someone, not just hearing their words, but actually feeling what they're going through. And here's the part that hit me like a truck. People can sense when you're faking it. We're hardwired to detect authenticity. And when you're doing that thing where you're nodding, but internally planning your response, you're broadcasting loud and clear that you don't actually care. Here's what fake listening actually looks like. And I'm gonna bet you've done at least one of these. You're having a conversation, and while they're talking, you're thinking about what clever thing you're gonna say next. Or maybe you're looking at them, but your mind is running through your to-do list. Or perhaps you're one of those people who jumps in the second they pause for air because you've been holding your breath waiting to share your story. I used to do all of these, sometimes in the same conversation. And you know what the worst part is? I genuinely thought I was being a good listener because I was making eye contact and nodding. But making eye contact while mentally checking out is actually worse than just admitting you're distracted, because you're creating this fake intimacy that the other person can feel is hollow. So what's the alternative? How do you actually listen in a way that makes people feel seen instead of invisible? Here's what I started doing. And I'm not gonna lie, it felt weird at first. When someone is talking to you, your only job in that moment is to understand them, not to fix them, not to one-up them, not to relate everything back to your experience. Just understand. This means you're actively focusing on what they're saying, you're noticing how they're feeling. And here's the game changer. You're asking questions that show you're actually engaged. Instead of waiting to share my story about my relationship problems when Marcus was talking, I should have been asking him questions like, what does that disconnection feel like for you? Or when did you first notice things changing? These questions don't just show you're listening, they actually help you listen better because they force your brain to focus on their experience, not yours. And here's the thing that blew my mind when I finally figured this out. When you stop fake listening and start actually being present with people, everything changes. People don't avoid you anymore. They actually seek you out because you've become one of those rare people who makes them feel heard. And feeling heard, feeling truly understood, that's one of the most powerful experiences a human being can have. It builds trust faster than anything else. So next time you're in a conversation and you catch yourself mentally rehearsing your response, pause, take a breath, let go of whatever brilliant thing you were about to say, and just focus on understanding the person in front of you. Your relationships will transform, I promise you that. Don't stress about it, we're all learning this together. Life looks better when you actually connect with people, instead of just performing connection. Okay, so we've talked about fake listening, but now we need to address its evil twin. And trust me, this one is just as relationship destroying. Have you ever been trapped in a conversation where the other person just will not stop talking? Like, you're standing there and they're going on and on about their weekend, their job, their thoughts on the meaning of life, and you literally cannot get a word in even if you wanted to? Yeah, that sucks. But here's the uncomfortable truth I had to face. I used to be that guy. I was the monologue machine, turning every conversation into my personal TED Talk. And I genuinely could not figure out why people kept finding excuses to leave. Let me tell you about the time I went on a date that should have been a wake-up call, but somehow wasn't, until way later. I met this woman, let's call her Sarah, at a coffee shop. And I was so excited because I'd been working on this new project, and I had so many thoughts about it. We sat down, she asked one polite question about what I do, and I swear to you, I talked for what felt like 14 and a half hours. Okay, it was probably more like 45 minutes. But still, that's basically a feature-length film of just me talking. I went through my entire project history, my philosophy on work, my thoughts on the industry, my predictions for the future, and somewhere around minute 30, I noticed Sarah's smile had frozen on her face, like she was posing for a really awkward photograph. But did I stop? No. I kept going because clearly my thoughts were just that fascinating. Spoiler alert, we did not have a second date. And when I finally replayed that conversation in my head later, I realized I couldn't remember a single thing Sarah said about herself. Not one thing. Because she barely got the chance to speak. Here's what I learned after that disaster, and many others like it. Conversation is not a performance. It's not a stage where you're the star and everyone else is your audience. Real conversation, the kind that actually builds connections and makes people want to be around you, is more like a game of catch. You throw the ball, they throw it back. You throw it back to them, back and forth. It's a rhythm, a dance, a balanced exchange. But when you're doing the monologue thing, you're basically holding onto the ball and refusing to let anyone else play. And guess what happens? People stop wanting to play with you. They avoid you because being around you feels exhausting, like they're just a prop in your one-person show rather than an actual participant in a mutual interaction. I started researching why I did this, why I felt this compulsive need to fill every silence with my own voice. And what I discovered was pretty eye-opening. A lot of times, monologuing comes from anxiety or insecurity. We think if we just keep talking, if if we just keep controlling the narrative, we won't have to deal with the uncertainty of what the other person might say or ask. It's a defense mechanism. We're so worried about awkward silences or being judged that we just go ham and take over the entire conversation. The irony is that this behavior, the thing we do to avoid being judged, actually makes people judge us way more harshly. They see us as self-absorbed, as people who don't care about anyone else's thoughts or experiences. And they're not entirely wrong, because even if we don't mean to be selfish, our behavior is communicating exactly that. So what's the fix? How do you stop turning every interaction into your personal monologue and start actually conversing? Here's the principle I started following, and it completely changed my social life. The 50-50 rule. In any conversation, you should be talking roughly 50% of the time and listening roughly 50% of the time. Now, I'm not saying you need to time yourself with a stopwatch or anything, but you need to develop an awareness of the conversational balance. If you've been talking for more than a couple of minutes without the other person contributing, that's your cue to stop, take a breath, and invite them back into the conversation. Ask them a question, reflect on something they said earlier, or just pause and give them space to speak. Picture a stickman conversation where two figures are passing a ball back and forth smoothly versus one stickman hoarding all the balls while the other stands there with empty hands looking miserable. Which scenario builds a bond? Obviously the first one. And here's the thing that really blew my mind when I finally started implementing this. When you give people space to talk, when you show genuine curiosity about their experiences and thoughts, they actually like you more. Not because you're saying brilliant things, but because you're making them feel valued. You're communicating through your listening that their perspective matters, that they matter. That's the secret sauce of connection. It's not about being the most interesting person in the room. It's about being interested in other people. When I stopped trying to impress everyone with my monologues and started actually engaging with what they had to say, my relationships transformed overnight. People started seeking me out, opening up to me, trusting me, because I'd finally learned how to shut up and share the conversational space. Look, I get it. Sometimes you have a story you're dying to tell, or you're passionate about something and you want to share it. That's totally fine. Passion is good, excitement is good. But even in those moments, you need to check yourself. Tell your story, but then pause and bring the other person in. Ask them if they've had a similar experience. See if they have thoughts or questions. Make it a dialogue, not a monologue. Connection happens in the space between people, not in the sound of your own voice. So if you've been wondering why people seem to drift away from you, ask yourself, am I having conversations, or am I just performing monologues? Be honest with yourself. And if you realize you've been hogging the conversational ball, don't beat yourself up about it. We've all been there. Just commit to doing better, to sharing the space, to actually playing catch, instead of just throwing balls at people's heads. And hey, if you found this helpful and you want more content on building real, authentic connections, make sure you're subscribed to Confident Connection Lab. We're all figuring this relationship stuff out together, and I promise you, it gets so much better when you stop performing and start connecting.